When I was born, I didn't know that I was a transgender woman. Obviously, I didn't know what was that. My mother told me that that day was the longest day of the year. Obviously, June 21st, it is the longest day because it is the summer solstice. It was raining and she was afraid of having me. She wanted to have a perfect boy. And she was afraid because before me, she had 3 miscarriages. So she asked Francis of Assisi if I was born fine, she could name me after him. So she named me Luis Francisco Piña Reséndez. Today, I am Franky, and I decided to change my name to go accordingly to how I feel. So my name can express what I always felt, a woman. I know that when I was born, I felt imperfect. Insufficiency was my last name. So at early age, I tried to become perfectionist. And that was the struggle of my life. I was creative, imaginative. I like to play with whatever I found on my way. I played with very inexpensive toys. My family was long, 7 members, 7 brothers and sisters. I was second to last. So my parents didn't have enough money for us to be playing with expensive toys. So my mom told me, whenever they took us as a family to the circus, I would go back home and start playing and creating my own circus with any recyclable materials I could find on my way. So I would love to play with my imagination. When I was 5 years old, my mother had a store in the local market. So she had to take care of the business to provide for us. So my sister, Chayito, which she was 5 years older than me, she took care of me in the way that she could. At that moment, I wanted to play more and more, and I also was ambitious. So I wanted to have a tiny little car, plastic. Probably it was worth 10 cents. I asked my mother for it. She didn't give me the money. So somebody else offered me that little car, a plastic orange car. I got the car, but in exchange, he sexually abused me. After I got abused, I learned to obtain whatever I wanted, asking for it, or through any way I could get it. So I divided myself. One part was a normal kid, intelligent, worker. I was going perfectly at school. And the other was a person that had some desires, and he would achieve them the way that little kid wanted. So I lived a double life. Yes, I was still in the market. I would help my parents with it. In there, I learned about aesthetics because I have to play with all the different fruits, vegetables, colors, textures. So the clients would go to my mother's store and buy from her. I knew that I was different than my brothers and sisters. My mother did too, but she never mentioned it. I was so dedicated, and I helped her while I was going through high school. But after high school, I dropped out because I was making money and I was having the fun. It was the best time of my life. I had money, I had work, but I wasn't happy because it wasn't me. I would see my sister's clothing and I would admire it because I wanted to wear it. Inside me, it wasn't the person that I wanted to be. I felt a woman. I was a teenager. I wanted to explore and live my sexuality openly. But the town that I am from is very conservative. I wanted to come to the US because I was so in love with MTV, seeing all the life in the suburbs, saw all the rich kids with their cars, and I wanted that. I arrived to Chicago 33 years ago. But this Chicago was not the MTV that I was looking for. I arrived into Pilsen, a Mexican immigrant neighborhood. I felt familiar with all the faces that I found, but there was too much violence, poverty in the streets, and also there were many murals, lots of art everywhere, political organizations. So I got involved through the Midwest Coalition in defense of immigrants. And I became conscious about the situation of immigrants. Soon my goal of finding that beautiful place to live and make it changed my mind, because that was not my reality. This neighborhood opened my eyes. So this organization that I joined was liberal, very progressive, but still very machista. It was full of all these transphobic, homophobic feelings, and I couldn't join what I wanted to do, which was to open myself and live and explore my sexuality. At the same time, I was missing my family, I was missing my friends. I have that second birth because my homeland, Mexico, sent me to this country. I know that there was this tension with immigration, with immigrants. So I didn't feel at home. I was missing Mexico. I was missing my family. I realized I have a second deep wound when I immigrated. But still, at the same time, I tried to compensate it by organizing, by writing for a newspaper, talking about the stories of immigrants that impact me. I learned to write. Then I joined a literary workshop with some friends, with my cousin, and we published a magazine. So I moved from a political organization to a literary organization, and still I couldn't be myself because the misogyny was up there. So I felt that it wasn't my place either. So I have to be a very strong male to try to fit with all my different friends and colleagues. But it wasn't me. So in 2015, after talking with my cousin that is also a writer, we asked ourselves one question. In Mexico, we live one part of our life that defines our moral behavior. In the US, for 25 years, we learn how to make a living. We learn a profession, we learn how to get along with other people. Our social context shaped. But now we ask ourselves, how do we want to die? And after several weeks of coffee and conversations, we arrived to the conclusion that we wanted to be honest when we die, to accept ourselves and enjoy honesty. And then I say, yes, I am honest. I've been working with not-for-profits. I am a channel for different cultural expressions. I create cultural platforms so people can express themselves. But inside me, I said, no, I am a homosexual, and I have never accepted. Once I was married, but the woman that I married, she never knew that I used to wear her clothing. So I decided to accept myself after all this time and face my own reality. To accept those wounds that I have, that my body carried for all those years, the abuse, the migration. And then now I was facing the moment of becoming myself, the person that I really wanted to become myself, Franky. And I decided to come out of the closet with my closest friends and tell them who I really was. I wasn't afraid anymore, because if I was going to die, I wanted to die being me, the real woman that I had all my life inside me. But I was lucky when I came out of the closet, because back then I was already a cultural promoter. I was an editor, a writer. I was a businesswoman. So that helped me to shape my new reality. And people accept that because who I was before I became Franky. I know that that's not the same story for all the transgender women in Chicago, especially Latinas, because they have been through a lot of violence. They have been through a lot of discrimination. Here I have to say that the median life for a transgender Latino woman is 35 years old. The story of my body is the story of resilience. I was born and I became perfectionist. I was abused, and I learned to live my moral life in two ways. Then I migrated because I wanted to explore my sexuality, and I didn't for 25 years. I resisted my own morals. I resisted my traditions because somehow I felt that I could be the boy that my parents wanted me to be, but I wasn't. This body carried me for 52 years. It isn't perfect. So why I wanted to become perfectionist? I have learned through resilience that my body has been teaching me all this time along to accept who I am. Finally, I have found peace in myself. I have put together my sacred feminine and my sacred masculinity. Now I have realized that I am not any perfection. I am long for being one. I don't want to be perfectionist anymore. I just want to be in peace with myself, with my neighbors, with my family, with my friends. I have learned to accept them the way they are, because now I accept the woman that is in front of you, the woman that I see every day at the mirror. All those moments that change and mark my life have made me who I am. Through art, I learn to love myself. Through art, I learn to love everybody else. Now, it is the time to accept this new reality with the pandemic and not be thinking about my process, but share, because everybody has a different process. And we all our voices matter. I appreciate this time to share with you my story. Your voice matters as well. Listen to it. It's never too late to accept who you are. Indeed, today there is a new beginning.